Ainsley, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Hillary Clinton justifying the NFL anthem protest, defending those players who are taking a knee.
So you have to resist what are very clear, what we call dog whistles to that base. That's what the black athletes kneeling was about. That was not against our anthem or our flag. That was actually, kneeling is a reverent position. It was to demonstrate in a peaceful way against racism and injustice in our criminal system. I think it would be a grave error for Democrats to recede from those fights. And so therefore we have to stand up, fight back, resist.
But President Trump says that kind of thinking is exactly why she lost the election. And here to debate, Fox News political analyst and Caldwell Strategic Consulting's Gianno Caldwell and Democratic strategist sitting next to me, Steve Laser. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, so I see you're just shaking your head when she says this.
Yeah.
But Steve, as a Democrat and former military, you're okay with her stance on this?
I am. Look, one of the things we military people have in common is a profound respect for the flag and the national anthem, but we also have a respect for what that represents, and that represents the fighting for people to have their First Amendment rights, their civil rights. So I respect that they want to protest, and they want to protest in this manner. It is not the manner that I would choose to protest, but I respect them, and I agree with a lot of the issues that they're fighting for.
Now, Gianna, you say easy for her to say now,
Absolutely.
But she and her husband led to the very injustices that these players are protesting, you say. What do you mean by that?
Hillary Rodham Clinton is responsible for advocating modern-day slavery. I'll tell you why. The 94 crime bill, which many have mentioned that led to the over-criminalization of African Americans. We're talking about mass incarceration. There'd be 2.3 million people in the criminal justice system right now. 1 million of them are black. The 94 crime bill led to the 3-strike rule. It also took money funding for training and education out of the prison system, which led to a recidivism rate of 75% after 5 years. So when we think about the issues in which these players and others are protesting oppression, systematic racism, which does exist in America, we can thank the Clintons for their role in that. And I think a lot of people have mentioned that, especially during this last election cycle.
All right, so how do you argue with that? They took away job training. He says they took away job training and funding, and recidivism rate went up 75%.
Well, look, I live in Harlem. And what Gianno says is one of the one or two things that I hear from the African-American community when they criticize the Clintons. In general, they're in favor of them, but there's no question that was definitely an issue. What I would say is that doesn't affect an individual police officer and how they treat an African-American on the street. That is an issue, but I think we have to get into the communities. I think the police officers and their leadership have to get into the community, talk with the community about how the community expects to be policed. I think there is a middle of the road here. I think both sides tend to, politicize this issue, but I think the majority of police officers are good folks who do the right thing, want to do the right thing. I think this is a solvable issue. I think everybody has to sit down and start talking.
What you're saying is very reasonable, but that's not what we're hearing from the Clintons, and I think that's the difference. We can have a reasonable discussion like you and I are having, a dialogue.
We don't hear from the other side either, though. That's the problem. We don't hear that from the other side either.
We're having a discussion.
Yeah, you and I are. Yeah. But unfortunately, this gets politicized by other people. And the people who support, the police officers, which I understand, they're not willing to acknowledge that there's anything wrong going on here. So we have a problem that both sides really don't want to budge on this issue at all.
Don't you feel like anything that this president says, though, the Clintons and Democrats are going to hate and they're going to go against it when they could have a dialogue? They could be talking about this, and maybe it shouldn't be done during the national anthem.
I got to tell you, it's not just Democrats. You have several Republicans now, several elected Republicans in the Senate who have publicly broken with Donald Trump. Flake, McCain, Collins, we can keep going on, and that number seems to be growing. So before Trump and his supporters address Democrats, they need to address their own party.
But here's the issue, though, and the reason why the Democrats lost so badly is because everything was anti-Trump. There was no message, and there continues to be no message on how you're going to help the American people. So where there's an entryway, which we see for them to jump in and say, well, Trump is wrong, and that's what they do. That's where it's become problematic. It's nothing about the American people and how we're going to help our country move forward.
Right.
It's about how can we hate Donald Trump or find something to hang on to what he said to make him look bad. And, I'll be honest, President Trump has said some things that makes himself look bad. However, we see the Democratic Party isn't coalescing around the American people and the hardworking people in America to bring about jobs and economic development.
That's fair, but I think going into 2018, you'll see Democrats come out with some really strong policies. If you're not doing it now,
you're not going to do it then.
Plenty of time.
Gianno, Steve, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.